Alrighty then, you are here, we're here, the riders are here, which means it's time for another Tour of Watopia live. Joining me, OJ Borge, is the one, the only, and somebody who's moved up to my second favourite Canadian on the planet is Rhea Hubble.
Week on week. Hey, OJ, how's it going?
You still never asked me who's my favourite Canadian then.
I dare to ask. I don't dare because I...
Brian Adams.
Really?
Is he Canadian?
Yeah, he is.
Good job.
Well done.
Yes. Now, if you're unaware, the Tour of Watopia, a 5-stage tour across Zwift's biggest and most popular world. You love it there, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
You would buy property if it was
Yes,
possible.
I would.
You can ride, run or race any of the 5 stages, and if you needed any other reason to jump on Zwift, you can also earn double the XP points, of which you XP hog.
Yes,
You've done all 3 this week, haven't you?
Yes, I did the long ride.
Okay.
I then did a Zwift run tour, and then I raced it on Monday as well.
Woo!
Yeah. XP hog for sure.
Absolutely. You might also even get the chance to ride with some very special guests. You know, just pop up every now and again on some of the stages. For instance, this guy, Geraint Thomas, riding stage 1, which was earlier along today. He's just under the yellow arrow there. And he would, you know, although I've got to take him. If he's made that avatar of himself, that's a humongous beard that I've never seen him with.
Yeah, he's rocking that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's also got this great little arrow just to tell everyone where he is.
If he attacks, here he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Geraint the Viking. Now, you said you raced stage 1.
Yes, I did.
You didn't race with me.
No, but you did today.
I did. If I look a little glassy-eyed right now, that's because just a couple of hours ago, I jumped on and did the race, of which somebody foolishly filmed me going for it. Now, if you know what a traction engine is, you know, like a steam engine when they wind up.
Keep going and going and going.
It might look, this is the end of the race, it might look like I'm sprinting in slow motion, but no, this is me actually going for it, as I was at the end of the stage earlier on. Oh, yeah. This is the lap here at Zwift Towers.
Wow. What a nice jersey you've got there, my friend.
That is the Canyon ZCC fan kit.
Lovely.
Very aero.
Is it?
Looks very good on me.
Or maybe one size too small?
How dare you? Looks very aero. Looks very good as long as breathing is optional.
Yeah,
to
okay.
go with it. 6th out of 50. I'll take that in the seat.
Yeah, well done. Very, very good.
I went too early.
Yeah, 400 meters you went up, didn't
yeah,
you?
man.
Why?
Because I thought I'd big ring it to the end. Eyes bigger than my glutes. Anyway, this year's Tour of Watopia will see 6 elite races, not the ones I'm in. 3 each from the men and the women, to give you a preview of what's in store for the next stage. And not only will the riders be going for the win on stages, but there'll be an individual GC as well. Yellow jerseys on offer, and we know them as teammates, don't we? In the last one, it was all about the teams. Now, this time, when it comes to the crunch, all that matters is individual points, which really animated it last time.
Yeah, it really did. We saw teams dominating last, like Hino or DBR. But this time, watching the individuals being able to utilize their strengths rather than having to work as a team, we saw Canyon ZCC really shine through, and some individuals really push through and shine like they didn't get to do in the previous tour.
It was a great race that last time. Mary Wilkinson of Canyon ZCC taking the win. And looking at Canyon ZCC, they were very much, I don't want to say the bride, but there was a lot of 2nd and 3rd places last time out. They lost out a lot to DBR in the women's races. This time, they have got their tactics bang on.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think they took learnings from the first tour this season, figured out what had worked and didn't work, and then are now able to not only take those strategies forward, but really utilize the sort of general classification and individual strengths and weaknesses for those riders. So yeah, I have a feeling we should see quite a successful grouping of women for that particular tour.
It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
The next show, which is Monday, is when the women will be racing again. Just to say, we're 11 minutes away from the men's race, and they're going to attack the Sand and Sequoias route. Will they be able to bring a lively race to us like the women did? Once again, it is a very flat route. We can find out now some of the men who are warming up in the pens right now. Let's see who is out there. That's Matt Gardiner. Oh,
Headless,
there he is. Good timing there, Matt Gardiner, who's wearing a fabulous cap. Look at that cap. This is Samuel Branland. He is warming up. He is warming up so much he's out of focus.
Yeah, he's done really well in the last tour.
Oh,
it's the duck!
It's Lionel and his duck.
Hey, Lionel, looking pretty cool and chilled as per usual.
Is he putting his head under his wing like his duck is as well?
Is he maybe having a nap and the duck's like, get off, Dad?
The duck's like, yeah?
Yeah, come on, Dad, let me down.
Yeah, you did not pay my fee for being on this. And then we've got Gavin Dempster here, who...
He's got the fan on. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Look at his hair.
He has got A-list hair
Yes,
and A-list
he does.
wind blowing it around as
Yes,
well.
he does.
They are some of the faces, and what we're asking you, you've seen some names there, we're asking you for your pick of who's going to win ahead of each stage and who's going to take the GC at the end of it at all. If you've got a pick for today's race, join the conversation, let us know who you're backing, and any other questions as well for Rhea or for Matt Stevens or anyone else, for Nathan. You can get in touch at Tour of Watopia, that's the hashtag. Join the chat on YouTube or Facebook, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Now, one of those names, and I love this guy.
Yeah, me too.
He is fabulous. He animates the races, he's a character. He's dynamic.
Yes.
C'est bon. That is Lionel Vujusen. He is a seasoned Zwift racer who was snapped up by the ever-impressive Canyon ZCC. And he invited us into his home to show us his, check my notes, his duck.
He just showed us who the best of the best is. What a racer. There it is, Vujusen coming over the top.
Hey, bonjour! I live here with my girlfriend's family and few pets, I would say. I was the kind of child who was passionate about sport. I started racing, I was 14 years old, and it was open categories with every age. The race was 2 hours and I was fighting cramps. It was all about trying to reach that finish line. Cyclocross is a big discipline here in Belgium. It's different than mountain biking because here most of the track are flats. I was in a point in my cycling career, I would say, and I saw Zwift. I joined Rafa Cycling Club and ended up riding in Vancouver. And yeah, it was pretty funny because I was an underdog and I won that race. I won $10,000. My Zwift experience has changed a lot since then because when I started I was like on a really basic setup. But now with the upgrade, I have a smart trainer, I have all the wow equipment, thanks to the team. Zwift racing is kind of a game changer. It gives me opportunities I would never expect. When you are on the trainer, you are risk-free, so you can give you the best of yourself. I remember the Tour de Zwift with Bologna. The last climb, I just gave it all in the last K just for the win, something I would never do outside because I would be scared to crash. My comeback story in Zwift was in Amsterdam. It was so crazy because it was a community race and I had a Bluetooth dropout.
A dropout situation for Vujusen, it looks like here. He's probably got his hands in the air, like what is going on?
No power for 20 to 30 seconds. In my mind it was hollow, everything was over for me. And then the power came back and I just tried to ride as hard as possible.
Here's the shot here, trying to get back, but it's 21 seconds. Never give up the ghost. We'll see if he can make this happen.
Try to come back on each group to the lead group and finally be able to sprint. And I won that race. It was like, it was amazing.
It's gonna be Canyon ZCC across the line. He made the impossible happen.
I think the best thing that happened to me on Zwift was to be able to join Canyon ZCC. It's like a family and we know each other so well now. It's really a pleasure to race with these guys. Our biggest rivals is of course indoor specialist. All the races against them are so close. It's sometimes 0.1 of a second. You never know what can happen and that's so fun.
I mean, he's just too cool for school, isn't he?
He's too cool for school.
I love him. The Dr. Dolittle of the cycling world.
Oh, yes. Yes. And I must admit, I'm now social media friends with him. I'm possibly the only person...
Did you get slipped a little DM today?
I did, yeah. I'm the first person in the history of social media to receive duck pics online. Because he sent me a picture of his duck and said he sleeps behind the green screen at the back of the back. And he says he doesn't know how the duck sleeps because it's so noisy, the turbo, when it's kicking up.
Wow. Well, there you go. Duck
It was very
pics.
nice. A lovely beak. Now, stage 2, we're taking on the flat Sand and Sequoias course. As always, Matt Stevens shall be our route tour guide.
This stage, we're taking on some of the most popular roads of Watopia. Revisit the figure 8 and the Sand and Sequoias for the occasion. While the first offers an iconic route around the original island, the second takes you through the desert and the magical nature preserve, Titan's Grove. The A Group. Sand and Sequoias is one of the most popular routes since the introduction of Titan's Grove. With 2 laps of this circuit, you'll have plenty of time to marvel at the beautiful fauna of eastern Watopia. The B Group. This shorter group ride option takes on a single lap of the Figure 8. Settle into your group and explore the original island of Watopia. The C Group. The women take on 1 lap of the Figure 8. From the underwater tunnel to the Queen of the Mountains and through the S's, find your way around the original island. The race is 1 lap of the Sand and Sequoias course, a real tale of 2 halves. The first part through the desert will be flat, fast and furious. But as soon as the race hits Titan's Grove, fireworks should start to go off. The Run. This stage's run event is a 30-minute workout on Tempus Fugit. Pace yourself and enjoy the sights through the Watopian desert.
There's a dinosaur. There's a
I
diplodocus.
know, yeah.
Or is it a brontosaurus?
I don't know, it's a dinosaur.
It's a dinosaur.
My dinosaur knowledge is pretty rubbish, but every time I go through there, I go, it's still there.
It's still there. It's not been gone. It needs the soundtrack to Jurassic Park.
Yes,
to go
it
through
does.
We need to make that happen. So they are the rides and the runs you can do, but we are here for the race, and we are now 3 minutes away from it starting. So let's talk through the race, Rhea.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we have a general classification points. It's individual points competition time. We are no longer working about the teams. The rider points are going to count towards a general classification by the end of the series, and the rider with the most points will hold the yellow jersey and win. Today's points are based on the sprint, the King of the Mountain, and the finish.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's
Yeah.
short. There's not a lot of elevation. Again, it's going to be fast. It's going to be up breakaways. Now, remember, as we said again, it isn't a team-based competition, but the teams are there, and these are the ones being represented today. And we've got a big old squad of teams out there.
Yeah, we do. And you'll recognize quite a few of them from the last series that we did, but a couple of new teams to note. Kalas Sports Racing Team is got a new team. It's a bunch of Norwegians who I think look particularly strong. And Team Italy, although interestingly largely made up of French riders.
Just to confuse everyone. And then the riders who'll be riding today. Let's take a look at some of the names. Now, we know Lionel, we spoke about him already.
Mr. Vujusen is there.
We've seen Gavin Dempster, he was warming up earlier on. Which other name stands out for you?
I think Vidal Mel is going to do really, really well from Kalas Esports Racing Team. Norwegian guys, really, really powerful, super strong. Look out for him today.
It's going to be good. Now, this is a Zwift race, which means power-ups. These are all important for the race. How you use them, when you use them, do you use them as part of a team? Aero, always important. Draft. The breakaway burrito.
Yes.
I got my first bad boy burrito today.
I am so jealous. How did you get on with it?
I used it at the wrong time, like everything else.
Too soon.
Lightweight and invisibility. If you want to try and gap everyone, and remember all of the power-ups you see there, when you come to take on a race, they are the power-ups that you can get. Watch how these racers do it. Try and use them at the same time. They'll show you the tactics and the little tricks around it.
Don't do what you did.
Rhea, are you ready for a race?
I am ready. OJ, are you ready?
I'm always ready for a race. I'm so excited. Now, if this is the first time you're watching a race, or maybe you've seen all of them so far, we need a pair of commentators. They will take you through it. They have all the facts. They are brilliant. They will call every little thing. They are Matt Stevens. But first, we hand over to a man who's been around Zwift from the start. The voice of Zwift. It is Nathan Guerrera.
Thank you so much, OJ and Rhea. Amazing pre-show. Always super cool to see the stories in the background behind the riders, what they're all about and where they're coming from. That Lionel race was pretty amazing. We'll see how they show up today. Now, the start today is going to be pretty fast, I think, everybody, because there is the reality that there are points on the line, 2.2 kilometers in. Matt Stevens is alongside me for commentary. Obviously, as always, Matt, what do you think about this start? I think it's going to be a full-on lead-out train from the get-go.
Yeah, it's going to have to be. As we've seen in the race, all of these points, the points on route, are going to be really, really hard fought for. I think if anybody has got their eye on winning this overall, and remember, it's about consistency, it's about constantly scoring points, they're going to have to be aggressive. They're going to have to be in the mix because there are so many points on offer aside from at the finish. And with this one being only 2.2 Ks in, that's probably about 3.5 minutes of action. The warm-up is going to be absolutely key. But I think because of the positioning of the points on offer today, we're going to see a very, very fast race indeed. But as we said at the top, a race of 2 halves. And by the way, it was a diplodocus we saw on course. I went online and checked.
And they're going to be passing that diplodocus in just a little bit. We'll have to see how quickly they get to that point out on course. Now look at this, 850 watts from Lionel at this point. And we do see Ollie Jones on the front actually. So as we said, maybe a lead out train immediately from Canyon ZCC. In the community races recently in the Kalas Cup, there has been this absolute freight train that has been Canyon ZCC. We've been watching James Phillips over and over again, almost winning every single one of those races. Be on the watch out, though, for Indo Specialist here to be taking over the race here in just a moment, perhaps, to try and counter these moves by Canyon ZCC. But already from the get-go, Team Italy here is off the front, trying to maybe give it a go. There's a little bit of a gap. Not sure it's going to go much of anywhere after this start, though. Now, the reality is, if you fell off the back at this point, you are not coming back, because the pace is not going to slow down for another K or two.
No, definitely not. But I think Canyon ZCC have got a tactic here about making it very, very fast, not allowing anybody to get off the front. And we've seen Ollie Jones, of course, a Zwift Academy finalist here, on the front, setting a very, very high pace, just hovering just under 7.2 watts a kilo. He's staying on the front. He's towing the bunch along, but this is tactics from the off to clearly put somebody up in the mix. I think it's going to be Lionel.
Look at this, 4 jerseys, the pink and purple of Canyon ZCC, all trying to control. The counter is coming in here, though. We do see the indoor specialist, the orange and light blue. That is the kits of the indoor specialist. We also see Callus trying to start and take over a little bit. Fusion is in there as well in the white kit, Fusion ECT, white and black shorts there. But it is still on the front with 1K to the sprint banner here. That is just the first time we're going to see the 1K to go. The second time through, it'll be actual 1K to go. KISS Racing Team in the blue kits, blue and orange as well, starting to take over toward the front. But it's still Canyon, I believe, in control of this race so far. There's not a whole lot of bunch besides draft I can see, and a little bit of orange there for indoor specialists.
Yeah, Vujusen, of course, one of the pre-race favourites, not a winner on the Tour. Zwift, of course, consistently placing, would desperately like to win this, but of course it is all about consistency. It is about scoring as many points as you can. Vujusen again, straight to the front here, aggressive from the off.
Yeah, we do see they go through that marker there. That means that they're starting the sprint section out on course. It's about a 35-second section. And as they get into this, we can see Dempster matching watts there with Vujusen side by side. But I think this is a lead out here from Vujusen at that 10 watts per kilogram. They're mainly just trying to keep that speed as high as possible. Lundqvist here, Team SZ is starting to go. And his teammate Brandlin is going to be the one that I believe he's going to be working for. But he might be looking to just take it outright. Larson, though, coming on through. Indoor specialist. Are they going to be an upset? Ryan Larson to the line. He's trying to come over the top. But Jonathan Levi, KRT, Levi takes it. Amazing result there for the man on the west coast of America. Huge result there for KRT. We're not expecting that from them. And there it is, Jonathan Levi, Ryan Larson, and Holden there coming on through for the top 3. Phillips for Canyon ZCC grabbing some points. And watch out for that, because I think they're going to be looking for the race win. And staying in that top 5 is so extremely important to try and grab as many points for the GC as possible.
Yeah, that was a good move by Larson. It looked like he got it, but he was picked on the line by Levy. But Larson, of course, is no stranger to the top end of the peloton. 6th in Yorkshire at the Tour de Zwift. So clearly a rider in very, very good form indeed. Vujusen, of course, the pre-race favourite there. A solid 5th place for him. I think he's going to be pretty happy with that. Next sprint is in Titans Grove. That comes at about 14.2 kilometres.
We're looking at Samuel Brandlin here now for a moment. That is one of the favorites as well out here today. He can climb like no other, and he has a pretty solid sprint, though. So I'll be watching out for him, perhaps to try and take down this win. He got some live shots out here now, 335, now 5 watts per kilogram, 173 beats per minute, probably right around that threshold or so for that beats per minute that we're seeing from him. Currently 52 kilometers per hour. Looking at the speed right here, we already have some gaps actually forming through that sprint section. Few riders here we're trying to get back on terms. It did drop a few, but we still have, it looks like, a solid group of 70 plus riders. So it hasn't been too many that have dropped off at this point. Middle of the pack now, things are going to probably really calm down from here on out. Any kind of attacks that do go from here are most likely going to be shut down with the reality of how strong this pack is, how strong the teams are out here. Anybody going off the front is taking a huge risk, because there's so many guys with just big firepower to bring anything back.
Yeah, and I think it's going to take 3 or 4 kilometres to get rid of the lactic acid from that first big effort. The effort out the blocks, and then the effort after 2.2 Ks to go for the sprints, to set riders up, and also just to hold the wheel. So I think you're right there, Nathan. I think we're going to see the race settle down until we hit the 10-kilometre mark, and that's where the terrain really shifts. That's where we get into the Sequoia landscape, and that's where we've got the climb of Titans Grove. It's not steep, but it's very, very long, and the mid part of this race is very, very difficult to get into a set rhythm, and I think we could see it break up a little bit later on. But as you say, just a steady rhythm for now.
Yeah, and 2 things real quick here. The updates over on Zwift Power at this point, 5.7 I'm seeing in the start. 5.7 watts per kilogram just to hang on in this race so
That's
far.
insane.
That is absolutely insane. All in the red. Everybody's been putting out just about everything they can, just to hang on and be involved in the start. There was a lot of lead out train looking for those 12 points that were across for first. Amazing job there across the line, though, coming from the teams that all take those top spots. But looking through here, I am seeing, the terrain that we're coming into with Sand and Sequoias, it's kind of a double kick with this, on the other side of the KOM, there's also this 8% gradient too through the rollers. So as you leave the Tempest Fugit off of the flats, there's this nice little uphill before we actually hit the actual KOM climb. It's uphill, downhill, and then a second kick all the way to the top of the KOM. There's some opportunity here, but I think it's going to have to be an early attack to really get away because the gradient is only a 2.2% average to the top of the KOM. You could take that leaving of the flats into that first climb and use that to kind of set things up a little bit better, put some people on the back foot to make the climb and the effort a little bit longer than just the KOM itself.
Yeah, the climbs, when you compare the climbs on Titans Grove to anything else on Zwift, are pretty insignificant. But at these sorts of speeds, they do provide a definite opportunity for riders to go clear. And I think the midpoint of the race, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to control because we're going to see a bit of a lead out for the sprint on Titans Grove. It is a KOM, but of course there are points on offer. Be interesting to see what power-ups riders have as well, which they've saved for that particular little bit of a drag. But it is a long climb. It's 2.6 Ks, but only 2.2% average. But we've seen the race settle down. But as we said in the preview, we're going to see some real fireworks in the second half of this race for sure.
Yeah, and after the climb, there is this downhill that's very, very extremely steep. And from there, there's this uphill 8% grind that's about 30 seconds. So I'd be watching out, everybody, for that kicker right there. That is about, I believe, maybe 5K to go at that point. A little bit of a guess on my point, but it's, there's not a whole lot of landscape left, a lot of rollers afterwards. And if anybody is just trying to get back on terms, you could see a little bit of a breakaway situation on that kicker after the KOM. Per Johnny Duggan here, coming from one of the oldest teams out on Zwift, that is Team Experimental. And early on, they were using the Alienware kit and shifted over to their own in-game kit, as you can see with the green and black there. 291 watts right now, as you see 156 speed sprint. Looking very calm, actually. So you can actually see in the composure there. Pretty calm here, Matt.
Yeah, anybody else who's ridden on Zwift or out on the road and understands power, to see a ride like that, sat in the middle of the bunch, but holding between 300 and 350 watts, making it look like they're riding down to the shops to buy a pint of milk, just shows the level of this type of racing. These guys are exceptionally fit. They are just cruising along at the moment, but getting themselves ready for the second part of this race. But an interesting guy for me, when you look at the composition of Team SZ, if I can get my words out, you've got Sam Brunland, who won 3 rounds of the Tour de Zwift. He won Innsbruck, Richmond and Yorkshire. Watch out for his teammate Alexander Wetterall, who was twice a time trial champion of Sweden on the road. He's going to be a big, important component part of that squad in terms of setting things up.
Yeah, Team SZ, very strong team out on Zwift. One of the longest standing teams out on Zwift, Team SZ. They run group rides as well as have a very elite, obviously, esports team out here as well. So very cool to see them out here representing. Now we got a side-by-side here, pretty cool, with indoor specialist. Dan Fleeman was riding for Dig Deep Coaching, part of Dig Deep Coaching, obviously. Former UCI pro, alongside Ryan Larson's numbers there as well. So this is a recent pickup actually for the indoor specialist. They just recently grabbed Dan Fleeman onto the squad here, and he's been showing up. We've seen some of the most amazing efforts on some of the climbs actually. I believe it was out on London for the Fusion ECT series. This guy was just crazy, 7 to 8 watts per kilogram, climbing for it seemed like 2 to 3 minutes straight. So I've been watching out for Fleeman as well as Larson to try and set him up for a sprint situation, or maybe something over the top of the climb, especially with Fleeman.
Yeah, well, Fleeman is a very experienced road rider. You mentioned he's ridden on the continent. He actually rode for the Cervelo test team, the team of Thor Hushovd, a few years ago. He's won the overall in the Rash. He's been the national hill climb champion, but now he's really getting into Zwift. But he has got that top end. He is not a pure sprinter, but what he has the ability to do is string things along, real high watts per kilo, and he's got the ability to thin this bunch out to set things up maybe for Ryan Larson.
Yeah, we are seeing indoor specialists just keeping things under control here now. Larson toward the front. You can see their kit there in game. That's that orange and light blue that they're riding with their left-hand side. Now TFC now coming on through to the front. It looks like that's going to be the yellow with the black writing on it with TFC on the back. You can see we've got 7.7K in 14.6 to go. And the gaps there on the right-hand side as well. Is there actually a rider off the front? We'll have to wait and see if there's, maybe that's just a little bit difference on the seconds there for a moment. But to the front now, it is going to be Innovation taking over with Lindbaum there, as well as Baverstock there from TFC. James Phillips, the rider I think to be watching out for if it does come to a sprint, sitting in second wheel, just covering anything, making sure nothing gets away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the riders are using this first half of the race as a bit of an opportunity after that really explosive start just to settle down, make sure they're hydrated. I estimate today's race is only going to be about 24, 25 minutes long, but exceptionally high intensity. I'm expecting to see a lot of what's been put out on the second part of this course. But at the moment, it is kind of even Stevens. It's almost what we call in French an entente cordiale in the peloton at the moment, as riders just get a bit of a sense of what's to come at the moment. Lots of cool ride-ons coming from the community as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, always great to see the ride-on. Jump onto the companion app if you haven't downloaded it yet. Check out the app stores and go ahead and search Zwift Companion. You can go ahead and jump into the game, search the riders, and give them ride-ons as they're out on course. Now, we call it holding hands in the mountain bike world here in the Midwest. Whenever they're chilling out and the riders next to me look at me, are we holding hands now or are we going to go? What's happening? It looks like it's holding hands time out on course until just a moment. We're just a moment here. We're about to go through this roundabout. There'll be a right-hand turn in just a second. And that first kick, it's not the official KOM, but it's the first kick on over to Triton's Grove. And I think we may be set up for some very serious attacks coming from some of the teams here to try and soften up the legs, give it a go here. We're looking at Matt Gardner here from Indoor Specialist here, currently 280 watts. I'm expecting it to hit the 300 to 400s here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And also when you're riding on a climb, it is kind of weirdly, because of the laws of physics, it's a lot easier to produce more power. Even producing 300 watts on the flat is actually harder than producing on the climb, which is a kind of weird kind of anomaly of physics. So yeah, I think we're going to see the powers ramping up, power to weight ratios going through the roof. And of course, once riders are on the limit, that is when there is an opportunity to try and attack. But we've still got a long way to go, still 12.3 Ks. But now we're on the second part of the course. It is up and down, as you said, Nathan. We've got a drag now of about a kilometre. It then drops down, and then we begin a couple of rollers before the long drag of Titan's Grove.
Yeah, and it is going to get into about 3, 4, even 5% at a couple of points here. We'll start seeing some of those big sequoias, and we do see Ollie Jones here now starting to give it a go. I saw Orange Watts there for just a moment. Baverstock there as well from TFC. Nobody really wanted to stick their nose in the wind too much. I was expecting a little bit more from the riders here, so it looks like they're really setting up just for the official KOM. Maybe as we get into the rollers, maybe some attacks as they can use some speed on the ups and downs, but it really looks like they're really going to focus on those that KOM to maybe try and make any kind of breakaway. Perhaps the riders are just thinking it's going to be a sprint, but I have a feeling there's going to be, in a couple of minutes here, a few flyers off the front.
Yeah, there's a good shot here of Morten Vang from the new Callas esports racing team. I do like that kit. Good to see more and more esports specific teams coming into the racing on Zwift. Now, you'll see that a few of the riders on the picture-in-picture have headphones in. Some of them will be listening to their favorite kind of beats to help motivate them. Others will be tuned in to Direct Sportif's team managers, making sure that they follow through the tactics of this race, because every single team here will have a little bit of a plan. They'll have to have a lateral plan. They'll have to be able to react to things dynamically that happen on the road. But most teams will have a plan, and they will have a structure to what's happening today. But as we have our first real attack.
Yeah, now going off the front, I did see a red kit there. It looked like it was McQuaid, actually. McQuaid there from the draft team, giving a little bit of go. He's got a little bit of a gap. It is 1 second. Now, because now they can be punished pretty badly, though, for attacks through these sections, because it's such a rollers that the group just can swallow up any kind of attack as they come on through with speed. So you have to really be committed and give a go at the right times, carrying some speed through each and every one of these sections. Now, this isn't the official start of the KOM just yet. As we do get into, we are looking at McQuaid here, though, 395 with 6 watts per kilogram. And that's just to sit in the middle of the pack here. And as you did say, though, real quickly about the Director Sportifs given information in the ears, they'll definitely have anybody that you do see any kind of earbuds in. A lot of times these teams have their own Discord channel, voice communication channels, where they all jump in there and communicate about when to attack and how to attack, which is an amazing resource actually when you are out there Zwift racing.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, things are really starting to thin out now. This is this long, twisty. I must admit, Nathan, this is one of my favourite routes on Watopia. I did ride the Tour of Watopia earlier this week on this particular section. It's a lot of fun, but this does go on for a long, long time. Although the gradients aren't particularly steep, it is really, really hard to get into a specific rhythm. Riders on this section, because it dips and rises, will be changing gear constantly. And if you just drift off the back, I think one or two riders have now become detached. It's actually very, very hard here.
Yeah, and moving to the front, we did see NTT here. Interesting to see a couple of the pro team that is involved here today has put a couple of riders into this lead group. We're 19th place currently with Pritsen out of South Africa. So good to see. We'll see if maybe a little bit of an upset, as I have not seen this team with too much participation in much of the community or the pro-am racing. So perhaps some of the dark horses out here coming from the pro teams that are jumping in. S. Gray here now, Sean Gray, Team Experimental we're looking at as well. They start to make their way to the front, and we're just starting the KOM officials. They come through that green banner, that green little marker on the ground there just a moment ago into a 3% gradient. It's still going to be a little bit of an up, and then flat, up, and flat. So it's going to not be all out climbing right from the bottom to the top. But this is the opportunity to maybe try and make a break.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw a little group of velociraptors on the right-hand side. Luckily, they didn't interfere with the race. Thank goodness for that. But the NTT Conti cycling team got 3 riders. They are a really interesting proposition. Some real class. Mark Pritsen in particular was second in the under-23 TT champs in South Africa, so clearly in good form. And Connor Brown was actually 6th in the New Zealand Classic out on the road. So 2 riders with very, very good form, both still in the mix. Nobody yet has managed to get clear there. Big powers. Look at all these riders sitting on 5, 6, even 7 watts per kilo, and nobody's even tried to attack yet.
No, not even an attack yet. Just to sit in the group now. 6 watts per kilogram. Steady 343, 176 heartbeat there coming from Brown there for a moment. Now off the back just a little bit though. We do see a French rider here just trying to hang on. Lundqvist here now from Team Sweden sitting mid-pack. Gray now we're looking at as well, sitting mid-pack. We're into the climb 3%, but as I said, it's not full on at any point really as far as the gradients go. We don't really get over 4, 5, 6% at any point out on this climb. But in just a moment, we're going to see in the distance the start of the final little kick to the line. I have a feeling we're going to see that moment is when they're going to go for it. But now we do see an attack here coming from a rider, actually. Morten Vang here from the Callus Esports team is actually off the front. 9 watts per kilogram, looking to be covered there by Nicky Hogg there from Innovation. Limbaugh also from Innovation. So it looks like the Innovation team in the black and green kits are trying to cover this move by Morten Vang. But Morten Vang, very strong climber from the new esports team, Callus Esports team, out on course, looking to show what they've got in this race.
Well, he's managed to open up a 2-second gap. This is a really good move, but look how smooth he is, turning a big gear out of the saddle as he really levers, puts some torque through 518 watts, hovering at around 500. This is absolutely magnificent. Still got a long way to go. It's interesting to see Nicky Hogg up there. Of course, Nicky Hogg for Team Innovation, second in Richmond. He likes this kind of punchy course, really does suit the punchers, as we say. But this is a very good move by Vang now. But can he hold on? Look at this, 8 watts a kilo, 2 seconds, 3 seconds lead. He's moving clear, Nathan.
Yeah, and look at this, 7 watts per kilogram, actually, 444 watts. This is an all-in effort here at this point, and this is going to cause some of the teams that have pure sprinters, Canyon ZCC, Indoor Specialists, looking to make this a sprint competition rather than a KOM competition. They're going to have to make some chases on the downhill here, and that is going to soften up their legs. Great move here by Callus Esports to put some of the other teams on the back foot and take the all-out the KOM points over the top as well. Dempster, though, chasing this down. It might have been too much too early. Gavin Dempster actually using an invisibility power up. That means nobody can see him going across. Dempster, 10 watts per kilogram. This is one of the strongest riders we've ever seen out on Zwift, and Gavin Dempster looks to be trying to walk away with this one. Alex Westow chasing it down. Canyon ZCC, 10 watts per kilogram coming from him, coming over the top. Indoor Specialist looking to close that down as well. We've got Canyon ZCC versus Indoor Specialist. The orange and blue, though, looks to be taking it now over the top with it looks like 11 watts per kilogram from Ryan Larson. Ryan Larson now 189 beats per minute, just snags it at the line. Levi, though, it looks like, was trying to get involved again. Top 4 now. We're going to take a look here. It looks like Ryan Larson for 12, but our Mayo there holding on. What an amazing result there for Mayo. Now, Jonathan Levi, though, coming on through for 3rd, just nipping Coles at the line. West there, able to hold on for 5th. Apers there for the BZR team. Shout out to him there. 6th place. Brandlin, looks like Vujusen there still involved. Dempster, faded back pretty badly there toward the end, maybe a little bit too early with the go. Now, as we're looking at the top 10, Gardner rounding it out. Now, this is the downhill, though. This speed here, if they can carry it through 4 seconds, this is an elite group. We might have a sprint situation, actually.
Yeah, that was a great attack. And again, because of how long the sprint was, normally the sprinters were like a shorter, kind of more explosive sort of sprint, but that was a long, drawn-out affair. They were riding at threshold or just above threshold for nearly 30 seconds to a minute. That isn't your normal sort of sprint, so it really brought out the punchers and the climbers. And as a result, we've seen a big fissure being opened up in the group here, and an elite group are going clear, although 1s and 2s are now getting across. But unsurprisingly, the most consistent rider riding on Zwift at the moment, Brandland for Team SZ, has made the cut. As we look at the confirmation of the rider points so far, Larson with 22, Levy with 20, and Mel with 13. Good riding by the new setup from Callas.
Now, we do need continuance, though, from these racers here that was split into 3 groups just a moment ago. The second chase group has made the juncture at this point. There is now one group off the back, still about 1 second back. We're into that 6, 7, now 8% gradient, though. This is the kicker, the last kicker out on course that you can really try and make anything happen. Will they get any kind of separation? A lot of the riders are going to be way over into their VO2 max as far as their heart rate goes, just trying to hang on. And this is the moment that you could cause some serious splits. It looks like Vujusen's toward the front. It looks like their specialist with Larson toward the front as well. Still, Levi from KRT, all in the top 10. The gap looks to be coming back, though. 2 seconds back. It looks like Moxon with Doving from Team Experimental trying to close things down. Bird is there as well from Draft. The gap now starting to go up, and again, they need to work together if they're going to make this happen. There might be just too many teams, though, involved, Matt, to try and make any kind of concerted effort. You start looking around, you see that there's so many involved from so many other teams. Is it worth the effort to work together at that point?
Yeah, I think you're right. And if you look, there's a 1 rider in between who's just getting on the back. If this had been maybe between 6, 8, maybe just 10 riders, they would have had a chance, but it's swelled to maybe 15 or 20. And as you can see, another group of riders just getting off the back. I think it's cost a few races pretty dear. I think we're going to see a few casualties, but the group is swelling, just showing you the depth of talent there is here. Riders will not give up when there's an opportunity. And I think the shorter racing we're seeing means that riders just will not give up. We've still got a big bunch that's going to head in towards the finish, but we still have a couple of these little kickers that we described. 4.1 Ks to go, but a couple of little kickers before the 2K flat run into the line.
Now, to speak about how hard this race has been, some of the talent that is off the back. Brian Giuliano from Team Draft, one of the most experienced riders, strongest riders. Ollie Jones, one of the Zwift Academy winners and finalists here as well from Canyon ZCC, off the back. Sheriffs Lursfien from the Vikings team. I mean, there is some serious talent off the back here of this main group. So it has not been a walk in the park by any means whatsoever to hang on to this lead group. This is definitely the cream of the crop that is off the front here at this point. This can be setting up for the sprint. What teams have brought enough riders to hang on to the lead out trains that are most definitely going to be coming from Indoor Specialists? I can see just from looking through about 6 riders, maybe 5, 6 riders from Indoor Specialists have made it here. I've seen a lot of Team Sweden in here as well. A few, maybe 3, 4 riders from Team Draft, as well as plenty of Pink and Purple with at least 3 riders from Canyon ZCC. So lots to set up here, but I think the teams with Indoor Specialists specifically having so many riders involved here are going to have quite the advantage along with Team Sweden.
Yeah, no, so as you said, Canyon ZCC at least got 3 riders in the group as well. Good to see the rider there from Team Italy, which was mentioned at the top of the show. There's only actually 1 Italian rider in the team. It's all Frenchmen, but they do have a rider in the mix. And just see them on the right-hand side in that nice, colourful blue and white jersey. But if you just look at the power a minute ago, the power just dropped off a little. I think riders just saving themselves for the finish, perhaps saving themselves for that attack, because that midsection, as we predicted, was very, very hard. There are a lot of casualties. But as we head into with less than 3 Ks to go now, riders thinking, what's the lead out going to be? They'll be communicating amongst themselves, having a bit of a plan as we come in towards this finish. But as it's a smaller group, I do think it's going to be a little bit difficult to control, but very well represented, Nathan. Indoor Specialists, at least 4 riders in this front group.
Yeah, and you do see the orange and blue kit of Indoor Specialists there, just always sitting right around that top 10, not wanting to be too far back, because as you come into these last few K, we're in the 2.4K to go. If you find yourself too far with such a large group here, if it was down to 10, 15 riders, you kind of float at the back. But with so many here, and as it starts to ramp up, it's just like in real life. I mean, you have experience with this, Matt. If you are too far back in the pack, and when those teams start ramping things up, how incredibly difficult it is to find yourself back into that top 10 because of the kind of power you have to put out. You almost have to put out your initial sprint to even get to the front again. So I think some of these riders are just trying to really position themselves in as best as they possibly can, because that drag race is about to start.
Exactly. If you drop too far, to the back of this group, then they would do, of course, have drafting on Zwift, but you do have to make an effort. If you want to get from the back to the front, you have to be going faster than the guys at the front of the group. So, you have to make more of an effort, but quite often there's an investment, and quite often you have to time it just right. It is worth spending a few more watts, a little bit of energy to move up. But if you do it at the wrong time, it can be completely wasted. So you need to get it tactically right. You need to understand the nuances of riding on Zwift, but very much like the real world, it's all about timing. And look at this, Brandland at the back. He is a rider who knows how to time it. He can sprint very well, leaves it to the last, but at the moment, he's happy to sit pretty much last man in this group.
Now we have a go. Look at this Vujusen, 14 watts per kilogram coming from him. Invisibility power up. This could catch everyone out. Nobody even noticed because he jumped from the middle of the pack. Talk about reading the pack perfectly. He saw that everybody calmed right on down. We saw 3 watts per kilogram. We haven't seen that for most of the race. He kicks at 14, gets immediately a 5-second gap. I've seen this race, this specific race, won from this point, but he's going to have to fully commit, be all in, and the teams have to kind of start looking at each other and not chase full on at this point. But Morten Vang, it looks like Vang is the man from Calais, as well as Dan Fleeman, that are there to set up their mans in the sprint.
Well, this is an amazing move. 770 meters to go. He's got 6 seconds. Can he hold on? Watts have dropped to 344 meters, but what an exceptional use of the invisibility power-up. My favorite of the power-ups. There is the finish line. When he rounds this corner, he's going to go under the Flamme Rouge. What an amazing move. He's still got a 6-second lead. Vermeulen looking very, very good at the moment, Nathan.
It's going to be so difficult, though. He's got to hold on to at least 7 watts per kilogram, I think. Morten Vang on the front. Dan Fleeman, the workhorse for indoor specialists. You can see it on the right-hand side of the screen with the watts per kilogram compared to Vermeulen. That's in first place. 7.1 coming from him. It's only 3 seconds. Mael, Lundqvist, it looks like as well, just shutting this down. And there it is, closed down. The catch has been made. Will we see a counter, though, from the pack at this point? That would be the perfect move right now to try and catch the rest of the teams out.
Yeah, a lot of power-ups being dropped then. The power-up you want is the Aero one, which obviously makes you far more aerodynamic for 15 seconds. We'll be seeing a lot of those dropped as we come into the finish out, but it's still a big group. But because of the speed at the front, it is really now starting to line out, and people now opening up their sprints.
Here we go, and it looks like it's gonna be Levi. Levi is going 16 watts per kilogram with an Aero power up. They're already into the sprint section. It's gonna be a right-hand turn. He's got 2 seconds. He caught everybody out. Jonathan Levi looks to be taking this one down. What a jump from Levi. Vujusen comes through, maybe just ahead of Holden Camus, but it looks like KRT. What was that? I am blown away by Jonathan Levi today. But you know what? This guy has been playing Zwift for such a long time. He's been doing these amazing streams where he's just over the top on VO2 Max over and over again in these little mini games that he's created. And I have seen him put out like 500 plus watts for almost an hour straight over and over again. And it looks like it's paid off, all that training. Holden Camus there coming on through in second place. Huge result there for indoor specialists. Lionel Vujusen there, obviously in third. It looks like Michael Apers from BZR there coming on through for fourth, and it'll be Cal Power there, also BZR showing up on the day. Per Johnny Doving there, Team Experimental getting on the board. Haven't seen them in the top 10 in a while, so solid result there coming from Doving. Ryan Larson, indoor specialist, and it looks like it's going to be Wigforce on through for 9th place. So what a result there. But Levi doubling up on the day and taking down tons of points there, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about that specific sort of training. For this 20-25 minute effort with all those spikes in power, you need to do a very, very specific set of work, and it really did pay off. He opened up his sprint. It wasn't a pure sprint. It was almost like a semi kind of attack. Went with about 350 meters to go, opened up a couple of seconds gap, but had that power, had that endurance to stay clear. Bear in mind, it also gone for the earlier sprints as well, and that is what I think we're going to see in Zwift racing over this particular series. It's the ability to sustain those riding by Levi. Great for KISS Racing.
Yeah, amazing result there coming from Jonathan Levi. And as you can see, 35 points was what he got across the line for the finish there. It looks like, I think that's the final points on the day. I'm just going to double check here real quick. No, 67 points. Holding community there for 48, Ryan Larson. So that's the top 3 situation currently between the riders there. So it's going to be heating up, though. It looks like Levi's going to be wearing the yellow jersey, though, GC. And we're going to be throwing it back over to OJ and Rhea for some post-race analysis.
Indeed, analysis time. That was some race, Rhea.
Yeah,
some race.
It really was. I was really impressed that the riders were able to hold it together even through those rollers.
Those rollers look brutal.
They are, well, not only do they look brutal, they really are brutal. And when you're doing a Zwift race yourself and you experience them, you can see normally the pack gets dragged out. I was impressed. There were some seriously strong riders out there today, and not just a select few. It was really impressive.
That front selection, yeah, it was a big old pack, wasn't it? That went down towards the end, and some great moves. And we saw the use of power-ups as well. The invisibility from Vujusen. At one point there, I thought he had that. But he was a way out when he got them.
You say that because he'd gotten that 6-second lead, but both you and I went, it's too soon. And then we questioned ourselves because he got so close to the finish. But timing is everything. He had so much power. Had he waited 500 meters, he would have had it.
Maybe, but I think sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yep.
The way that Jonathan Levi won that race, though, I mean, the way he got them, it's what I tried to do earlier on. Go big, go early. But he showed that if you've got that power, then you can hold them off. It was close at the end.
It was really
Lionel
close.
was there. He came in third, but it was close. But he showed that if you can gap people and you can hold it, then that is how you win it. And really, he showed his power as a cyclist and his knowledge of the Zwift platform.
Yeah, but also I think a few people did. Larson has to be given credit. He had an amazing race. The race started strong right from the start, and Levi, Larson, also the new team, Callas, had some really strong riders. I mean, we saw Callas take that sort of first attempt.
Morten Vang, who looks like Ragnar Lothbrok from the Viking series, if you've ever seen it. He was absolutely going for it. Let's take another quick look at the final again. If you missed it, it was hectic, as they always are. We can see here.
This is just before, just after Vujusen gets taken from the sprint, and you could just see him being absorbed. And suddenly they're all together. You've got no idea what's going to happen once Vujusen's sprint was sort of absorbed, and then the power-ups drop.
That's Jonathan Levi. You can see him coming through the pack
through the pack, yeah.
Sitting in a great position.
And
then
the power that he drops is outstanding. And there you go. That's when he makes his move.
And you can see that he used the aero as well. And lots of people dropped aeros afterwards, but with that sort of power at that time, the fact that he had that drop, we're talking, it must have been half a second.
Yeah.
But the riders who were behind him probably took their eyes off the screen just for a second. He drops it, he goes, and look at it. I said it was close. When you actually look at the amount of time, I mean, that's a big old gap. That is a big old gap.
Yeah, it is, especially when you see the next 5 to 6 riders are all literally wheel by wheel.
It was a great race.
Yeah, it really was. My heart was really racing.
25 minutes it took them to get around. If you ever want to watch it again, you can do. Just check out the YouTube page and the Facebook page. They are there for posterity to watch again. And it is, if you do race on Zwift, it's well worth having a look at, just to see how they use the power-ups, how they use timing, and the tactics as well. And what I thought was great, if you watch a lot of IRL riding, in real life riding, you saw the teams coming up towards the end. You saw ZCC together. You saw these teams, indoor specialists as well, coming up almost in the same way that you get the trains coming up towards the sprint. I thought it was fabulous.
Yeah, so
loved it.
Yeah, me too. Even though it was GC riding, you saw some real good teamwork out there today.
Oh yeah, we'll have yellow jerseys on the next race. Now, stage 2. Stage 1 you can ride for the next couple of hours if you haven't done it yet. Stage 2 will be ready for you to experience firsthand very, very soon. So soon I can almost taste it. What is that taste?
Ooh, maple syrup?
It is maple syrup. The Canadian in the room. If you want to ride it, check out Zwift.com/TOW ride, tow ride to see the event schedule. Pick an event that works for you, your timing, whether around work or if maybe you're spending a little time at home at the moment. A perfect time to jump on Zwift.
Exactly.
You've got to spend time at home. You can also use the mobile Zwift companion as well. Now, we're doing the show together on Monday.
We are.
Are we going to do our race together?
Yes.
So 4 GMT?
I think that's what we're planning, yeah.
We'll try and race Matt Stevens in as well, who did not race with me today after we talked about it online. So hopefully he'll get involved as well. And maybe we can get Nathan pre-show as well
Ooh.
from over in America. Maybe.
Throwing down the gauntlet. I hope I don't.
Throwing
beat
gauntlets
too
everywhere.
bad.
Gauntlets. Now, as well as the Tour of Watopia being available to ride, run and race, we also have some great opportunities in the coming days to ride with pros from Mitchelton Scott in a very special programme of events on Zwift. Now, you can ride and train alongside members of the men's and women teams as they lead social rides, pro workouts and fun challenges. There is something for everyone. Check out the app for more information and look out for rides with the Mitchelton Scott logo. And it's just, you get to do it. You get to ride with some of the best pros in the world. We can see the times there. There's one on Saturday, Sunday. Do you know, I'm going to try and jump on that Sunday one. I'm absolutely going to try and do that if I can. Ray,
Yeah, do that, because then you'll be tired for Monday.
I'll be tired anyway. With 2 kids. We'll be back on Monday when the women will take on the Watopia volcano as they race stage 3's Whole Lot of Lava course. Have you ridden this course?
I have.
See, my problem is I'm usually so tired when I'm going for it. I've got no idea where I am.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm excited is this bodes well for me because it's against you and it's climbing.
Oh, no! No! Think I can lose maybe 20 or 25 kilos by Monday?
I believe in you, buddy.
Do you know, I once did a test. I did a proper scientific test. You know, where you go into a lab,
Yeah.
the rest of it. And they did it and they went, ooh, your power. You could be good.
If you just
lose
lost
40k.
weight.
40 kilograms I needed to lose.
Okay, well, good luck for that. this
Yeah.
weekend.
Good luck with that, OJ. Rhea, it's been an absolute pleasure.
As always.
Thank you to you for watching. We'll see you Monday. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.